and welcome. You're watching Doctors Chat. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Can COVID-19 cause higher mortality or higher morbidity with people who are suffering from cancer? Amongst people with cancer and those on immensely immune suppressive treatment, are they more vulnerable or susceptible to COVID-19 infection? Basically, in this episode of Doctors Chat, we're going to look at two big questions. The cancer as a comorbidity and the vulnerability of such patients to contract COVID-19 infection, and what are the age brackets and what is the kind of population we are looking at when we talk about COVID-19 infection and vulnerable population. So we're going to deep dive and understand the whole concept of cancer, comorbidity and COVID-19, and are extremely honored on Doctors Chat to have with us Dr. Sudeep Gupta, joining us all the way from Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. He's a medical oncologist and also director ACTREC, that is Advanced Center for Treatment Research and Education in Cancer. Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for joining us. And I'm going to start with a very simple and a very basic question that what do we really understand by comorbidities impacting COVID-19, and particularly in the cases of cancer patients, how severe are such cases?
So thank you very much for inviting me to your show. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here.
The pleasure is ours as well. Thank you.
And also a big hello to all the listeners who have tuned into this program. Your question is absolutely spot on. We knew very little about the disease COVID about 1.5 years ago. It was an unknown quantity, and as we all know, it likely emanated from China. But over these 1.5 years, there have been a number of studies that have told us to some extent what correlates with severe disease. And one of the most important correlates of severity of COVID is what we call comorbidities. A comorbidity is a medical term. In simple English, it essentially means that a person who has some other illness, possibly a chronic illness, and how does the occurrence of that chronic illness correlate with COVID if that person were to contract COVID. And what we have found out is that a number of comorbidities, a number of other illnesses such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease, and cancer, both solid cancers as well as hematological or blood cancers, they have a important impact on the severity of COVID and also on the likelihood of recovery.
Okay.
If I was to give you a headline answer to your question, then the straightforward answer would be that the occurrence of one or more of these illnesses places the person at a higher risk of having severe COVID as well as of dying from COVID if they were to contract it.
So cancer comes in the category of severest of comorbidities, which makes the cancer patient more susceptible and vulnerable of contacting infection, and I think that will be a biggest challenge. How do you deal with that?
Yes, you are absolutely right. The short answer to your question is that yes, the occurrence of cancer is one of the severest comorbidities, but the longer answer to your question is that cancer also is a variety of illnesses, and also most importantly, there are many people who have had cancer in the past but whose cancer is currently in remission or under control.
Okay.
Individuals are at a lower risk compared to those individuals who currently have the disease cancer and who are undergoing treatment for that disease.
And what is the relationship between a weak immune system and contracting coronavirus? I'm specifically talking about the cancer patients.
Right. So, as we all know, cancer can occur in any organ. It can occur also in the blood and the lymphatic tissues, including the lymph nodes when it is called a lymphoma. But all kinds of cancer by themselves cause a degree of suppression of the host immune system that places these patients at a higher risk of getting all kinds of infections. So COVID is only 1.5 years old, but cancer patients have been known to be susceptible to many other infections, including bacterial infections, fungal infections, viral infections, and COVID is, of course, another virus. Yes, the cancer patients are susceptible because of the innate disease that they have. But very importantly, the treatment of cancer also involves modalities such as chemotherapy, such as targeted therapy, such as radiotherapy, which also place an additional burden of suppression of the immune system on the individual.
Yes.
So both cancer as well as its treatment, they contribute to immune suppression, and that plays a very significant role and interacts very significantly with the severity of COVID and the outcome of COVID if such patients were to get it. In passing, let me also state that cancer is not the only comorbidity with immune suppression.
That was my next question, yes.
So, other diseases like chronic kidney disease, chronic renal failure, congestive heart failure, chronic liver disease, all of them are associated with varying degrees of suppression of the immune system. And so to a lesser or larger extent, the same phenomenon plays out there as well.
Dr. Gupta, now is it really safe to operate, having said that, on a cancer patient?
Yes, the situation is very tricky, and I think this is a very important question because there are competing priorities. On the one hand, you have a disease, cancer, which needs surgery, which needs treatment, and on the other hand, there is a risk of getting COVID if you have to travel to the hospital, if you have to travel to another city to get the treatment.
Surgeries make it more, is it a very big contributing risk factor? Surgeries, serious surgeries.
Per se, surgery by itself may not be that big a contributing factor, but when you have to get surgery, then you have to travel to a hospital, you have to meet with a variety of individuals.
Basically exposure
There is a chance of exposure. But let me just say one thing, the take-home message that I would like to give to your viewers is that COVID can be severe in, let us say, about 5% or up to 5 to 10% of individuals, but cancer is a severe disease in 100% of people who get it.
Okay.
And what has happened in the past 1.5 years is that we have seen a number of cases, not only in our hospital, but from all over India and actually from all over the world, where cancer diagnosis has been delayed, the stage of cancer has become much higher, much worse, and so therefore the outcome of treatment of the cancer also takes a hit.
What have been the observations, particularly cancer comorbidity, and the kind of patients or cases that have come up? I'm talking about, again, cancer comorbidity and COVID-19, because I think we're still, when it comes to R&D, we're still in the middle of the curve. On various fronts, we're still fighting the battle. But on the cancer comorbidity front, what are the observations, sir, in the last 18 months?
So our main observations have been that as the pandemic has progressed, the doctors and the medical community has begun to learn more about this virus. And what we have found is that if patients are admitted early into the hospital, those who require admission, and if they are administered appropriate treatment for COVID, then the chance of a good outcome is maximized. So I will give you a couple of only anecdotal examples.
Please, yes.
So amongst the cancers, one of the most severest form of treatment is what is called a bone marrow transplantation.
Okay.
Where you actually replace the entire bone marrow of another individual with a donor so as to be able to cure the blood cancer generally. So we had a gentleman who was about 80 years old who had bone marrow transplantation and had severe complications because of bone marrow transplantation in the form of a graft versus host disease. And this gentleman got COVID, but fortunately he came to us, we admitted him to our hospital, and we gave him all the treatment, including oxygen, including IL-6 inhibitors, including steroids, including other treatments as were applicable, and good supportive treatment. And this gentleman got cured of COVID and he went home and he is alive and well today.
Fantastic.
You cannot imagine a patient who is at a higher risk of getting all kinds of complications than this gentleman, and his case was reported in a peer-reviewed journal as well as a learning point about what we could do. There are many other patients who have been saved, who have been treated appropriately just because we keep a close follow-up on them. They have the confidence to come to our hospital. And right from the very beginning of the pandemic, we took a conscious decision both in Tata Memorial Hospital as well as in ACTREC to treat our own COVID patients. We did not send them to some other COVID hospitals to get treated because we are best placed to treat our own patients.
Okay. And healthcare workers who are working under intense conditions, especially like healthcare centers and hospitals like Tata Memorial, where you're treating cancer patients and yet at the same time you're battling COVID-19 infection. I think these healthcare workers and doctors like you, day in and day out, you have these close encounters with the virus itself.
Yes, you are absolutely right that there is a chance of exposure because by our very profession, not only doctors, let me say that the effort in hospitals has not only been from doctors but also from nurses,
yes,
also from the supporting staff, also from the housekeeping staff, the other workers, also our administrative staff. So the clerk who actually collects the billing also gets exposed to a whole lot of individuals throughout the day. So all of them have been very brave. And there have been periods of panic. I will not say that there has not been, but I think good communication and reassurance to our own staff that we will take care of them in case they do get COVID. So a lot of our staff members did get COVID, but we treated all of them and all of them recovered. So I think if they feel that our organization is there to take care of us and that COVID is not necessarily a severe disease in everyone, and almost all patients or most patients will recover if given the appropriate treatment, and constant communication from the leadership to the staff, I think are able to maintain the morale of our employees and were very important factors that we were able to function.
Well, the nation owes a lot to them, sir, and the nation will continue to owe a lot to them during especially these pandemic times. Now, coming to the second part of our discussion, the most vulnerable population. First, let's talk about children with comorbidities. What kind of comorbidities make them more susceptible to get COVID infection?
So, in general, as all of us know, children, possibly because they have not been exposed to the same extent, have had a lower rate of infection compared to adults. And that has been seen all over the world. The second fact is that the severity of the disease in general in children has been much less severe compared to adults. So those are very important facts and should not be lost sight of, despite the fact that there are reports that this child lost his life or her life and this child got this complication. But on an average, if you take as a proportion, as a percentage, children are much less likely to get severe COVID compared to adults. Having said that, there are children with comorbidities, and again, some of those children, and if I take the age cutoff of 18 years, there are children with comorbidities such as obesity and juvenile diabetes. They can have lung infections, chronic lung infections. They can have cancers. We do have children with cancers. We can have other comorbidities, and such children are also at a higher risk of getting severe COVID if they were to get the virus.
Dr. Gupta, on our various shows, like this one is Dr. Chat, we have other shows that COVID-19 related questions where we take live. We get a lot of queries. People want to understand what are immune compromised state, people with immune compromised state, and also people who are on intensely immune suppressive treatments. The perception they are more susceptible to COVID-19 infection. So basically the whole correlation with one's immune system and COVID. and comorbidity. If you could just elaborate, explain, clarify a bit further.
So let me say, first the good news is that the overwhelming majority of the normal population or population is not immune compromised, or at least not immune compromised to any significant extent.
Immune compromise would mean weak immune system.
Yes, weak immune system. I'm sorry for using the technical term.
That's okay. That's
but
why I
yes.
asked you this question. That's exactly why I asked you this question.
Yes, so weak immune system. So when people say that the immunity can be boosted using this drug or that drug, or that the immune system is weak, let me say that there is no very defined and very objective one single parameter by which one can measure anyone's immunity. But now let me try to explain to your viewers and to all of us about what might constitute a weak immune system. So for example, if there is a person who has had a kidney transplant, now for the recipient not to reject the transplanted kidney, you need to give them certain drugs, sometimes for prolonged periods of time, that will suppress the host immune system, and by host I mean the person who has been transplanted with the kidney.
Yes.
And the function of those drugs is to make the immune system weak, so that the immune system doesn't reject what has been the organ that has been transplanted into you. So in the process of making the immune system weak, the immune system becomes weak for other things as well, including infections. So which is why such individuals have been known to be prone to get a variety of infections, and before COVID, nobody paid much attention to this small fraction of the population, but they could get fungal infections, they could get viral infections, they could get bacterial infections, they could get unusual infections. So COVID is another infection that such people are susceptible to. But let me again say that the large majority of the population does not fall into this category.
Okay.
Similarly, there are other illnesses, chronic illnesses, severe uncontrolled diabetes, where it is known that the immune system may be a little bit weak, and such patients are prone to other kinds of infections and unusual infections. Patients with uncontrolled cancer, patients with certain lung diseases that fester on and on for many years. So all of those are weak immune system diseases. But the large majority of the population doesn't have weak immune system. They have normal immune system, and they can, so even people with normal immune system can get common cold.
Yes.
Before COVID, everybody got common cold, or at least most people got common cold at regular intervals. It is just, and that was not a case of weak immunity. It is just the case that common cold was a mild disease, so one did not pay much attention to it. And it just happens that COVID, in a small fraction of patients, will become severe disease, and that is why justifiably we are very much concerned. So I would say that such individuals who are known to have these severe diseases, including the treatments that can suppress the immune system, do need to be careful, and we need to pay special attention to protect them from COVID.
When it comes to cancer as a comorbidity, COVID-19 infection, in the last 18 months, the observations, and most importantly, are we here in this particular space or domain or area, medical area or medical domain, dealing with a known situation, sir, or unknown situation? I mean, what I'm trying to ask you, is there any study which corroborates that you've seen rise in cancer infections because of the COVID, or vice versa?
So let me answer your last question first. There is actually no proof that COVID has led to an increase in the incidence of cancer, or that cancer has necessarily led to an increase in COVID infections in the cancer. There is some weak evidence to say that cancer patients may be more predisposed to COVID, but the evidence is weak. The evidence is strong that if they do get COVID, then they are likely to get COVID, then they are likely to get severe COVID. But getting COVID by itself is not such a, the evidence is not cut and dry. But let me give you some of the data from our own hospital.
Sure.
What we have seen is that patients with cancer who have developed COVID, our overall rate of them dying, those who were on chemotherapy, and I'm talking about those patients who were on chemotherapy, has been about 8 to 10%.
Okay.
But about half of these individuals actually, the death was not attributable to COVID, it was attributable to the underlying cancer because the cancer was in a terminal stage.
Okay.
So death that is attributable to COVID happened in about 3 to 4% of our cancer patients
Okay.
receiving chemotherapy. And this I think has to be contrasted with about less than 1% or half of a percent to 1% chance in the general population. So you
Okay.
can see that the rate of getting severe disease and also dying from COVID may be about 8 to 10 times higher in individuals who have cancer and who are undergoing active treatment for cancer. Now, the other things that we observed was that if they required oxygen at the time of admission, if their lymphocyte count was low, if their IL-6 level was high, if their CRP level was high, all of these correlated with more severe COVID and the chance that there is a higher risk of dying and also at a higher risk of getting lung damage. So all of those observations were also made in our own patients as well.
Okay. Vulnerable population to COVID-19, 60 plus age bracket, without comorbidities. Any specific pointers on that? Without comorbidities.
Yes, so you're absolutely right. One of the risk factors for severe COVID has been increasing age, and in almost all analysis from everywhere in the world, older age has been correlated with a greater severity of disease and also the risk of death due to COVID. So in 60 plus individuals, again, I think what we have to do, and I think many municipal corporations all over India, they said that such individuals could not be observed at home, they have to be mandatorily admitted to the hospital, etc. and so on. So I think one has to have a very sharp oversight over such individuals. Even though they may say that they are feeling all right, we know that there is a situation where the oxygen levels and the hypoxia is setting in, and yet the individual does not perceive any manifest breathlessness. And one should not let it come to a stage where somebody becomes acutely breathless before they come to the hospital. So in a nutshell, what I would say is that individuals who are above the age of 60, many of them actually do have comorbidities. As we become older, our chance of getting hypertension, etc. also increases. But even without comorbidities, I think we have to take special attention, pay special attention to such individuals, and if possible, then hospitalize them for care.
And especially in the cases of cancer infections, this is one of the bigger issues, unawareness and late presentation, perhaps lack of timely treatment. And by the time, God forbid, you realize that you have contracted cancer, most of the time it might be too late. Dr. Gupta, your final word of assurance for the viewers of Dr. Chat, specifically on the topic that we are talking about. Cancer is a comorbidity in COVID-19 susceptibility.
So my message to all of ourselves is, first of all, not to fear the disease cancer. It can occur to anybody, it can happen with anybody. Please do not neglect it, including in COVID times, because cancer is most often relentlessly progressive, and it might become at an advanced stage if one was not to reach the hospital. So please don't ignore it. Please do reach the hospital nearest you. Second, although we know that cancer is a comorbidity that may place the person at a higher risk of getting severe form of COVID, but with good treatment, with good oversight and with proper care, including all the medications, the outcome of patients with cancer who have got COVID has been excellent in our hospital. And now most hospitals all over India and all over the world have gained a large body of experience as to how to treat such individuals, including with all the drugs that we have at our disposal. So my own suggestion would be to not neglect cancer, to not neglect COVID, to get tested for both of them as soon as possible, and the outcome in more than 95% of situations is likely to be good and to be positive if one was to get the proper care.
On that note, many thanks, Dr. Sudeep Gupta, medical oncologist, joining us all the way from Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us and for that very, very assuring and absorbing conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your show, and I wish you and all the viewers all the very best, including good health.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Take care.